um, artificial intelligence, robotics, machine learning, drones, driverless cars, all these words have started bombarding us and at times confusing us. We are all confused how the world will evolve in the days to come. We have a set of panelists who have specialists in their own fields. And I would start with Sridhar Prasad, Partner Strategy and Operations, KPMG. Sridhar is a partner with KPMG and leads the consumer markets and e-commerce sector for the advisory business. Sridhar also holds responsibility for being the office managing partner for Kerala operations of KPMG. He has around 15 years of professional experience in business consulting, of which over 13 years is with KPMG. Sridhar is part of a cross-functional team focusing on strategy, operations, turnaround and transformation consulting requirements of clients. He has worked on large and critical engagements with multinational business houses, SMEs and startups, including major players in Indian e-commerce space. Sridhar leads the startup practice with KPMG and has been advising over 50 startups in the past 5 years in strategy, operations, operating model design, marketplace transformation, as well as fundraising. He was instrumental in setting up business for KPMG in Kerala since 2007 and has advised many promoter-driven companies in the state across financial services, consumer markets, and industrial markets. He is a BTech from College of Engineering Technology, College of Engineering Trivandrum, and PGDM from MDI Gurgaon. Next is Mr. A round of applause to Sridhar Prasad. Next is Koshi M. Matthew, Executive Director, Ernst & Young. Koshi M. Matthew is currently working with EY Global Delivery Services as the MENA account leader. He has more than 20 years of professional experience in multiple service lines with clients based out of several countries in the Middle East and global. Koshi is passionate about emerging technologies like RPA, IoT, blockchain, artificial intelligence, etc., and has experience in driving large projects in these new wave technologies. He is a chartered accountant and FCA from India and is qualified in GCIMA UK, Certified Internal Auditor, CIA USA, Certified Information System Auditor, CISA USA, and also TOGAF 9 certified. Round of applause to Mr. Koshi. Next is Jofin Joseph, Head of Operations, Full Contact. Mr. Jofin Joseph is currently the Head of Operations in India at Full Contact, a US-based software company. The entrepreneurial instinct nurtured when he was in college where he started his first company, Opernode Labs, as a web programmer in the dorm room. However, after college he joined Infosys and worked as a system engineer. With this entrepreneurial instinct in him, he left Infosys and co-founded Profoundus in 2012. Profoundus was one of the startups selected by Microsoft for the Microsoft Accelerator program. The team built Vibe at Profoundus, an application to get easy access to email contacts. The company grew to a 70-member operation team based in Kochi. In 2016, the company was acquired by Full Contact and he headed the Indian operations at Full Contact. Currently, as Head of Operations for Full Contact India, he is responsible for scaling and managing the Indian operations of the company. Jofin is a graduate in Computer Science and Engineering from CUSAT. At Infosys, he was awarded Infosys Special Recognition Award by KV Kamath for his contribution to the company outside regular task of responsibilities. Round of applause to Jofin. Next is Jayakrishnan T, CEO, Asimov Robotics. Jayakrishnan T is the founder and CEO of Asimov Robotics Limited, a company providing engineering solutions and consultancy in the areas like robotic manipulation, simulation and control, machine vision, training, virtual reality and navigation applications. He is committed to high standards in every aspect of his business and believes in using the technology for the care, protection and benefit of mankind. Apart from robotics, he is involved in an independent research on spirituality and tantric practices. He is a motivational speaker for innovation and technology entrepreneurship. Round of applause to. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll start off with Sridhar Prasad. He'll speak on the emerging trends in the technology front. Okay, over to Sridhar Prasad, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. So there's a concept called agenda bombing, like a photo bomb. Somebody takes a photo, you jump behind them and you be a part of the photo, right? So I just did that. So it's an afternoon session, so we thought we'll do something slightly different. The topic says new technologies. This presentation is supposed to be somewhere a segue to that. The intention is to tell you something which you may not have seen before, because I've just got exposed to this about 6 months back. So in my professional career, last 1 year, I was able to work a lot with Google. So we all know, use, and we pretty much live Google, but the amount of data, the amount of insights they have, as a consultant I got exposed to, and this is what I'm presenting, many of them is a co-owned output of 6 studies which we did with Google. So that's a segue, because new technologies, there are 2 dimensions to it. One is, what are the new technologies, what can Kerala do about it, which is the eminent panel and we'll discuss. The other is, where will you apply that? However rudimentary be the technology, where are the new avenues to apply that? Irrespective of what kind of a company you are. You may be a banana chips company, that's okay. But how do I capture the emerging Indian technology-enabled market? That's what this is supposed to cover. So quickly, may not be visible, but this Gola says everything which is a new business in India. You just heard pepper fry outside. Pepper fry is only one element of the colors you're seeing there. There are at least 15 other colors, right from the obvious ones being the Flipkarts and the Paytms, to companies which are into gaming, companies which are into education, companies which are into fintech, companies which are into digital classifieds, companies which are into recruitment. These are companies which live, breathe new technologies and internet. And how do we as a state capture a pie out of this is a big question to answer. And you see a circle outside which is gray in color. Can you see gray color outside? Those are the guys who actually make money. The guys inside are bleeding somebody else's money. The people outside make money from within. So these are companies like your packaging companies, your courier companies, your logistics companies, your warehousing companies, your companies which are into imaging, photography for the new companies. They all have high margins. Now how do we, from a technology perspective, be feeders into this ecosystem is a thought for all of us. 2, some new technology channels. These are technology-enabled channels for us. There are about 35,000 Aadhaar centers in India, technology-enabled. They're technically useless now. But 1.2 billion people have an Aadhaar card. Our population is 1.28 or whatever. So what do these guys do every day? There's nothing much to do. They're digitally enabled centers, right? 2, IRCTC, a technology giant or technology dinosaur in the country. Now they are saying, we want to partner with people like you in any manner. So IRCTC wants to do train commerce. IRCTC wants to sell insurance. I can see some financial services friends here. They want to sell financial services products through the train commerce concept. I don't know if many of you would be aware of this too. 3, there are multiple distribution centers. If you see, there is a logo of Via there. There's a logo of ShopX. There's a logo of Store King. They combined have 1.8 lakh outlets in India, which are digitally connected and have a wallet, a closed group wallet. Now, what do you want to sell there? It's up to us. The overall lending ecosystem which has been brought up. The small finance banks, they're finding it difficult to sell CASA, right? What more can they do for all of us? The last is what I put there as your e-commerce platforms we all are partnering with. So a new enterprise, horizontal, channel is being created in the country, and we know this because it's actually happening. I see again financial services players here. Carvey is known to us as a brokerage firm, right, sir? Carvey is into distribution of LED bulbs through the technology platform, right? It's a brokerage firm, that's what we know. They distribute LED bulbs in rural areas through their Aadhaar outlets using a technology platform. The world is changing. Right? Some numbers, we are consultants, we love throwing numbers. And I just need one number from this slide for all of you. This was a population to internet people, number of internet users, to smartphone users, to wallet users. But a critical number here is the number of English-speaking Indians. We have only 175 million people who speak English, speak, read, write English. But the number of people who are using internet is 450 million. Who are the others? So we have 235 million Indian language internet users in the country. They shop, they do something or the other. This number is mine with Google. You won't see this number anywhere else. Right. Now these guys, next level, they have smartphones also. Now as practitioners of selling whatever as entrepreneurs, do you look at these characters as well? They all are like, they look like you and me, but they don't speak English, right? The Malayali internet user. Unfortunately, this was a shocker for me when I did this study. These are my study outputs, okay? I'm not taking too much time. The top shows what percent of the crowd in a state speaks only the local language. And in Kerala, it's about 50%. 40 million to 22 million. The rest of the states, it's far higher because their English penetration is lower. But the bottom graph says, unfortunately, 27% Malayalis are adopting internet. I was really surprised, and Google proves this number. Is there a play for all of us to enhance this number as a technology player, or capitalize the void of white space of people who are actually online in the country? Very interesting stats, especially the bottom two. The non-English speakers believe English is not reliable. They don't trust English. Online, digital, whatever you call it, they don't trust English. Rural Indians spend more time online than you and me. Roughly about 20% more time than you and me online. Right. The last one, if there are any media companies around, about 90% of the people are more likely to respond if an ad is in their local language. Stats which we have never thought. I mean, I would have never thought this would have been the case a year back. The world is slightly changing in India. Now, when it comes to digital payments, thanks to Demon and Paytm and Vijay Shekhar and others, again, surprisingly, there is a huge gap for the level of literacy in the state to the rest. If you see that last bar is Kerala, it's 20% today, compared to a Bangalore or a Karnataka, which is 37% adoption for digital payments, right? So these are primarily the English, non-English speaking people. We did a very large survey of non-English speaking people in Kerala and these states, Tamil Nadu, Andhra, Bengal and others. News. Digital news is the buzz today. We all have multiple apps, right? Again, there is a very large void for Kerala to bridge. For the consumption of digital news online, we are about 43% of the people who are actually browsing or actually online compared to some of the other states. Say, for example, if you look at the Tamil news consumption, our neighbors, they are almost 50% more than the consumption in Kerala. Digital entertainment, it could be YouTubes and whatever it is. There we are more or less there, but for the size of the industry we should have been maybe 90%. Because Hindi is 93%. The left extreme number you see is Hindi, it's 93%. And Kerala is at 77%. Is there a void there? Which sectors are rising within digital? One, obviously, it's payments. Some numbers for all of us. We expect this kind of number growth in the country. About 540 million non-English speaking Indian users are going to be there by 4 years. Of which about 200 plus or minus 200 million users will be paying online, digital payments. Smartphones, it's an interesting stat. We are expecting 10 times growth in the number of smartphone to feature phone ratio. Today for a smartphone or for one feature phone sold, there are 6.6 smartphones sold. We are expecting it to be 10 times in the next 4 years. The last one is very important for most practitioners. The consumption of data by all of us Today the average is hovering around 2 GB or something like that. We expect it to be 7 GB. 1.5 GB to 7 GB in the next 4 years, thanks to all the trigger which Geo brought in. Online education, as a sector where there is a very large opportunity for most of the new technologies my co-panelists will speak of. We're expecting a crazy jump to 1.96 billion. This number is online, quoted by both us and Google. Surprisingly, we are the most literate state. I am yet to know of a startup from Kerala which is big enough in our radar. I mean, obviously, there are startups with Kerala founders, but there's nothing which is big enough in the state which has created a lot of hype. And one strand here for all of us is nobody's bothered or caring where the startups are located. I mean, do you know where Candy Crush was made? 80% may not know, right? We still play those games. 30% users wants their interactive medium in the local language. Translation is a big industry in India. That's the message I want to give, not that you have to start your website in a local language. If you are internet professionals, technology professionals, translation as a business is significantly rising in the country. Do we have a game there? Think about it. Online gaming, this is where I bet, if I have money, I will really bet on. Gaming not for playing, gaming as a medium. We all play games casually, but we have no clue on the amount of data which is being captured, analyzed and insighted out when there is a gaming game. Expecting to be a $1 billion industry. End of this month, there's an IPO expected of a gaming company in India, Nazara. They're one of the largest creators of games, right? Another large area for newer technologies. I'm still not very sure how many gaming creators are there in Kerala. These are gaming creators who will publish games later on some medium and then they move on. Real estate, our favorite sector in Kerala. We found out that 1 out of the 4 searches for real estate which is happening on Google in the country is coming from abroad. We are expecting a 4x growth in the online real estate transaction. I mean, we heard Pepperfry, there are the competitors as well. The amount of new technology enabled customer experience system they have created, I'm not sure whether their center, whatever he said here in Cochin has those centers. It's an extreme high-end virtual reality enabled interface which helps you buy your furniture with the dimension of the room you want to create. It's already there. Now, we may think like shoppers in Kerala, should I do it? But the question simply remains, am I creating the technology for it in the state? Online education, I touched upon. I just want to put the last bucket there. The amount of interest for online education from smaller towns has almost doubled in 1 year. Allahabad, Raipur, Shimla, dozen places. And we claim we are the best in education in the state. Right? I mean, we still believe education drives literacy in the state. So this is a large pie for us. Where is the education market? Reskilling and K-12. People want to have online interfaces for reskilling and K-12. A large pie. Last, my slide, online matrimony. People are now talking about infusing technology to prevent fraud. It's a little gray area because a lot of fake profiles and digital transactions are still a little hazy. But the growth we are expecting is about 2.5 times in the next 4 years. All the data what I spoke here is a joint output between us and Google. And I thought the intention of this deck, it's a little random what I showed here. There's no storyline in what I showed here. The intention is to be very clearly imbibing that there's a far different world outside the boundaries of Kerala today. Maybe our entrepreneurs are going outside and setting up shops. I actually asked Byju's once, why are you setting up a shop in Bangalore? Right? You're a Mallu entrepreneur. Why are you not here? I asked ID Fresh guys, why are you setting up a shop in Bangalore? Idli dosa batter can be anywhere, right? So something is wrong here. 2, do we always want fame or do we want money? Because the first slide I showed here, if you want money, then be on the outskirts. If you want fame, you can be in the middle. So the choice, because it's already industry is matured. The technology industry, if I call this the technology industry, it's matured, pretty much matured. So do we make money or do we make fame? Right? And that's the message I wanted to leave to the larger crowd. And I have just 2 cheeky points before I close. I'm unwell today, really unwell. I'm not keeping well. And I just went to our Le Meridian. I said, I want coconut water. Any guess what happened? Quickly. I got a coconut. Okay, I got a coconut, well polished coconut, which was peeled off with a gadget, and I drank. It was unusually sweet, and I said, something is wrong with the coconut. It's too smooth. Huh, sir, imported from Thailand. I'm not joking. Just try out at the coffee shop at Lee Meridian, right? Something is wrong with the state. Number two, question for all of you. Is there a banana chips brand in Kerala? Which I know, we all know. I doubt. There's no 100 crore company, right? Third, just another straight question back to the technology so that there's a segue. Which is the most downloaded and used app in the country? Any names, please? To my panelists as well. Any names? Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube. No. So the unofficial, I'm telling you here, last year they were the 5th, this year they're the 1st. It's an app called Share It. Share It. Without internet, you can share peer-to-peer documents and music and all. Rural adoption is significantly high. In India, it's a Chinese app. Now, what's in that app? The technology experts would say, what's in that app? It's a peer-to-peer Bluetooth-enabled technology or technology-enabled data sharing app. It's used by your drivers, your servant maids in the rural areas, or in the panchayat area, people converge. Hey, do you want to watch this video? I'll share it with you. There's no internet. Somebody's very basic idea. With that, I'll stop and I'll go back to the team and we'll have a different kind of a discussion. Thank you, everyone.
Over to Mr. Koshi.
Yeah, hi. Audible? Maybe I'll share a bit different perspective from my point of view. Probably Sridhar was giving a bit more gloomy picture about the state. I come from EY Shared Service Center, which is based out of Kerala. We have centers in other states as well. But one of our most important innovation centers within the firm is actually based out of Kerala. And I was part of building that innovation center. And I would say that it is state-of-art innovation center because the people who come from US, Europe, experience what we have here and they actually vouch for that. So I was fortunate enough to be part of people who actually build POCs, concepts which we take it to the market. May not be to Kerala, may not be to India, but to the larger world. I happen to get immersed to those. I'm not a technology person, but as a user, I actually get immersed in many of these technologies. So if you ask like which all are the technologies which is more relevant and prevalent and which probably will be more useful for the entrepreneurs here, I would say that AI will be something which will be picking up a lot, which probably is in an early maturity stage from what I can see. But apart from that, there will be few solutions like IoT, blockchain, VR, AR, robotics, which will be complementing this. So there are two elements to it. One is an opportunity to actually be in this space and build solutions for the market. And the second element is to be a user of this. So, so when you look into the second part, which is like the industries which is relevant for Kerala, like take agriculture, tourism, retail, real estate, I see that a lot of application of this new technologies. And I believe that the organizations or the companies which get into this or become a user of these technologies will have a higher chances of success and will have a higher chance for beating their competition. If you take agriculture, definitely AI will have an application in every sectors, irrespective of the size of the company or irrespective of the complexity of the operations. I think AI eventually will have space in every sector. But if you take agriculture specifically, I think IoT will have a big application. Take monitoring the farms, drones, for example, which again will be an application of IoT, irrigation, checking for diseases, for example, checking on theft, supply chain of the whole system. So all these, I think IoT will have a big application. And I believe that if the startups start looking into finding the problems within the agriculture sector in Kerala and looking for solution for it, I think it will be a big win. The second, if you take tourism, definitely there are a lot of applications of AR, VR, I would say. Many of the tourists can be enticed by building AR, VR application and showing them what is Kerala, what is the inside of rural Kerala. And I think that is again another area where there will be an application of new technologies. Take retail, again same, this AR, VR technologies are heavily used. There are many showrooms. If you take automobile sector like Tata's, they have AR, VR technologies implemented in many of their showrooms. So likewise, retail will have a big opportunity to actually make use of these new technologies. Blockchain is pretty new, I would say, from the usage perspective. I mean, it has, as a technology, it has been there since very long time. Most of you might know that it all started with this cryptocurrency or Bitcoin. But today, blockchain's application is much wider. It is, initially we thought like the application will be more in fintech or financial services. But now the application is becoming much more prevalent in supply chain beyond financial services. So again, that is another area which will pick up for sure, especially when it comes to trust, smart contracts, usage of digital currency. Blockchain will be something which will have a big application. Again, if you take agriculture, I think at some point in time, there will be usage of blockchain eventually. Robotics, it has always been there in manufacturing plants, but if you see in the service industry, there is a big application of robotics, which is robotics process automation. They are not physical robots, it is software. And for Kerala, being a service industry with so many companies which is focused on services, ITES companies, I'm sure that there will be a big application of robotics. And you might say that it is a disruption, but I think it is a good disruption where we are allowing the people to move from low-end work to actually do a higher-end work. So we are going up the value chain by using robotics, and that is another area where there will be a big application. In all these spaces, I referred to the Innovation Center. We have teams working, and we have a good talent as well. And most of the talent are from the local market. Definitely we are hiring people from other states as well. We have people from almost 20 states in India. But majority of the talents are from Kerala. And the biggest, I actually worked outside India for a very long time and came back to Kerala with the objective of building an opportunity within Kerala itself so that the talent can get an opportunity to work in a multinational and to work on all these cutting edge technologies, and we were able to do that. So all in all, I think although other cities like Bangalore, Hyderabad and Mumbai probably have taken over the space much ahead of Kerala, but I think there is opportunity, and I think we are still not late.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. As a quick intro and full disclaimer, I am a firm believer of technology, and I believe technology is for the future, changing the way we live for the good. So I believe that technology is here to solve problems of humanity, and solve the problems that we see around us. And I completely trust technology to do that. Full disclaimer. So with that introduction, let me talk about three key technology trends among the hundreds of thousands of things that people across the globe are building at the moment. Three things, three trends, which I believe will fundamentally change the way in which we live. Right. The first is energy, right? The innovation which is happening in the energy sector worldwide, right? We all know we have huge problems with the way we are using energy, we are generating energy and using it. So we have the fossil fuel crisis, we have the global warming, we have pollution, we have tons of different problems in the connected with the way we use energy, which is changing for the good. If you read through about the changes, about the advancements that has come in inside battery technology, solar technology in the past few years, when I say few, in the past 3 or 4 years, you'll be astonished. You'll be completely mind blown about the kind of stuff that are created, which will change the way in which we capture energy forever. Second is blockchains, as Koshi mentioned, which is fundamentally the way we do transactions. Traditionally, we've always, from the day transactions began, we started trusting third parties for transactions. From the Equifax and TransUnions of the world, to the MasterCards and Visas of the world, to the banks of the world, we have been trusting these third parties to do our transactions for us in the financial sector. And if you go to a simple ticket booking, right? We have been trusting IRCTC to do our train ticket booking. We have been trusting Book My Show to do our film booking. A lot of these third parties in the play, right? Blockchain as a technology, it came in by 2008, and it is picking up so fast that if you go into an event about a technology event outside India or even outside Kerala, you hear 80% of the things you hear about blockchains, right? Blockchains are going to change and disrupt these industries like banking, these industries like credit card credit union or credit monitoring services, a lot of these intermediary industries heavily, and it is going to change the economic landscape of the world forever. It's coming, right? It has already come. There are hundreds of startups, hundreds of companies who are building on this. Citi, the huge bank, they in fact have started they've released their first product on blockchain. They've understood that there's no fighting this, you have to embrace this. It is changing the world. Third is the whole thing of connected economy or shared economy, which is coming up. And it is and coming up specifically with the world of self-driving cars, and self-driving cars is one single aspect of this shared economy which is coming up. If you think about self-driving cars, right? I'm sure even for us it sounds like science fiction for us even now. But think about a situation, or first think about the problems that cars bring to our society, right? Car is one of the least used and worst economic decision that anyone can make, is what people say, right? Cars sit idle for 95% of the time. They take significant amount of money from your pocket. They burn so much of fossil fuel. They take up so much of space in an average city. It's a depreciating asset as well, right? So it takes so much of space. There's a study which says in an average city, almost 30% of the space, usable space, is for parking, right? It's such a bad asset, right? Now think about what will happen when the self-driving cars will come into the picture, right? You get into your car, you buy a car, you get into a car, you ask it to go to your office. Once you go into your office, imagine you have a toggle button. You can switch that button to shared mode or private mode. If it goes to the shared mode, it will go run as an Uber and fetch money for you for the rest of the day. And by the time you are ready to leave your office, it comes back to you and pick you up, right? Just think about how that situation would change the entire aspect of car ownership and change the entire aspect of the very number of cars on the streets, right? So three things: fundamentally solving problems for humanity. Now, I'm sure you guys might be thinking, what is this guy saying, right? When the other two explained about how Kerala can improve and Kerala specific technology advancements, this guy is, it sounds like this guy saw a science fiction movie yesterday and he's talking out of it. But let me put this thought into your mind, right? How many years did it take for radio to come to India after its invention, right? Probably 5 years, 10 years. I don't know the answer, but you know, it is quite some time. How many years did TV take? How many years did the first computer take to come to India? It could have taken like 6 to 7 years, right? But how many years did the first smartphone take to come to India? Hardly an year, right? But, and if you look at it now, any technology advancements which is happening, there is zero gap between a technology being built in the US to come to India, or technology being built in China or anywhere else in the world to come to India. It's happening real time, right? We are there. So if these things are happening, it's coming to us sooner than we think it is, right? There are at least 3 self-driving car companies in India who have gone past the prototype stage. It's coming, it's here, right? So, and I would say among all while we have all the critics to all this stuff that we are talking about, it's changing us, and it's changing us for the good. With that, I'll move.
Over to Jay Krishnan.
Good afternoon. So as Sridhar started with mentioning Kerala and the technological advancement from this space, being a person working in robotics and related engineering disciplines from Kerala, I would say the geographical location is going to be irrelevant. Like it has not much role because we are that much connected. I'm just going along with Jofin was mentioning. We are very much connected. It won't take much time if you look at how the technology is coming and spreading to various part of the globe from one place to other. You can see that the time taken for that is coming down drastically. The only thing what you may have to be scared about, or I don't know if you have to, is about privacy. So he has all the data he has shown. So the privacy is something which we shouldn't be worried about in future. That's the only thing we can do. We cannot address it in any other way. Privacy is, no more privacy will be there, like for sure. I'm telling you. So the next thing is, like, if you look at that, as I was mentioning, that as internet came first, and then to start with something which was phenomenal, you can see that every 10 years there is a phenomenal revolutionary technology coming up and changing the world. So, and you can see that the internet came and then changed the world, and now mobile devices, and then this social media platforms. Now we are talking about this AI and robotics. It was there for a long while, like starting, from 70s itself, robotics were there as a part of the factory automation. But now that it is becoming the part of your life in various ways. And this blockchain, basically the digital currency stuff, and then the IoT. So this is the today's revolutionary technology. So you can see that if all these are put together, it will also taking a hockey stick curve. Why? Because all these are actually kind of all the development which has been already there is put back to invent or come up with something which is revolutionary for the coming years. So that's why you can see that the curve is going like this, and that is the very reason for this unpredictability of what is going to happen in future. So it may be probably within 10 years or 15 years what you can think of a day, one day of a human being, probably maybe like this. He gets up, he wakes up, and then after a nice sleep, or probably like sweet dreams. So because your dreams are programmed, your dreams are conditioned, because you don't have to worry about the digital transaction you have made last day, or maybe kind of worry about the fall of your company share values, things like that. So your dreams are programmed. You have a lot of connectivity. I mean, even you are connected through your brain is also in connection with the various the network. So that is called HMI, human machine interface. So you program your dreams, and then you have to brush your teeth. You are actually not going to brush your teeth by using hand. Why? Because 10 years back, I think it is, if my memory is correct, 11 years back itself, in FDA approved robots were there, which is nano robots. You can just put in your mouth a handful of robots and then keep your mouth closed. It will clean your teeth and then you can spit it out. So this guy can have that, and same time a phone comes and he has to pick that. He actually don't want to speak because again it is connected through his wearable, and then some brain interface is connected. You can just think and you can replay, and then okay, you have to get ready, and then you have to put on the dress, and then you didn't have a I mean, the last day you had something like which you are not liking very much, and you want to change the dress. You don't have anything else which is washed. So with the flick of a mobile app button, you can change the pattern and color of the dress you're going to wear and things like that. You put on that and get out, and then your car is ready. Autonomous car is ready, and you get into it and you get a nice massage because the seat itself is giving you a nice massage. So you get a relaxation, and then it takes you to the hyperloop, and then sitting there. And then you are actually thinking of talking to people, doing something, and then maybe your wife calls and talks about like, I need to go for shopping in the evening. So talking about some suggestions for that and things like that. So she will be probably there as this, what is it like, 3D laser hologram image is appearing in front of him and talking to her, and then gets down, and then your lunch is ready. I mean, that's brought by the drones and so on. Like, you can just think of anything because it's going to happen. But one thing I'm telling you is that you shouldn't be worried about just like technology is changing our life and it's stealing jobs and then various other drawbacks of this. There is no point in that. Why? Because if somebody from the last century comes to me and then talks to me like, why this world is like this? Everybody is, you're actually addicted to all these automobiles. You don't walk. You just get into your car or by public transport or flight. Why don't this guy can walk and go to some place? Just like that, when people are worried about then you're overusing mobile phone, you're getting addicted to it. There are a lot of plus and minuses, but basically it is like, that is how it is. I have 2 daughters. My daughters are also kind of slightly bit addicted to all these devices, but I cannot see it as something which is bad. So everything is changing, and then I think the entire world is going to be a phase that you have to expect the unexpected. So I'm pretty much happy about it. There is nothing to worry about.
Thank you, Jayakrishnan. We heard Sridhar Prasad talking about the changing dynamics and the changing, probably giving us an insight of the changing patterns happening in the society. One thing which came to my mind was, I was thinking, when would our matrimony sites become dating sites? The cultural change that is happening across the country, when would this happen? It actually came to my mind. Koshi spoke about the opportunity in with technology coming in, the changes that would happen in agriculture. And true, I believe that. And I'm a farmer myself, and I believe that so much is going to happen in the field of agriculture. In fact, 2 weeks back, a company based in Silicon Valley got an investment of $200 million from 2 companies. One was Alphabet, the promoters of Google, and the second investor in that company was Amazon. What they are going to do is create vertical farms across the world in every city which has got a population above a million. What they are going to do is, in the immediate suburb of the city, they are going to create a vertical farm which would supply all the vegetables and fruits required for the city. Lowest transportation cost, lowest time gap, fresh and eco-friendly. So this is the plan, this is the project which they are working on. Every city in the world with a population exceeding 1 million, they are going to set up vertical farms. So this is the kind of things which are happening, and about renewable energy and the changes in industry. Um, in fact, one of the statistics says that the current set of cars that we have across the world, it is being used only 4% of the time. Rest of the time it is being parked and idle. Like, we come to our office in the morning, we leave our car in the parking space, evening we go back. This is how a car is being used. Imagine a situation with autonomous cars coming in, a situation where this 4%, what is predicted is in the next 15 years, this is going to increase from 4% to 40%. Then what we are going to see is a drop in the number of automobiles that we see on the road, because we would need only lesser number of cars, and car would change from a product to a service, when the brand itself will get diluted, where you would not, when you call it taxi, you will not, you wouldn't look if it is a Toyota or a Ford or a third-rate model. For you, it is. So this change is bound to happen in the automobile industry with this transformation. And again, one very interesting company, one company which I follow very closely, there is a company called Longevity Incorporated. It is they have one statement, in fact, one mission statement. They want to make 100 the new 60. What they try to achieve is the kind of health that we have today at the age of 60. They want to see human beings having that same health at the age of 100. They want to extend the lifespan by another 40 years. Healthy living. So this company works on very high innovative technology. What they are going to do is, there are various platforms they are innovating and trying to evolve. They would inject nanobots into our bloodstream, which would collect data, and using NFC technology, this data would get transferred to your smartphone, which would get transferred to your mobile phone, and you could avail the services of supercomputers like Watson. You can avail the service of Watson. So any data that is collected, it would be sent to Watson, or if you are an affordable person, if you can afford, you can avail the service of Watson or a lower computer. Then it would give you a feedback. Maybe once a week you could take a feedback and you could correct it. Like if you have a dengue infection inside your body, much before it gets manifested, this would identify the problem and start taking medicines or whatever it is. So it will give a recommendation based on that. Another company, a very interesting company, which is highly into technology, is Elon Musk, SpaceX. This company has a target. What is the target? Before 1945, they want to transform mankind into a multi-planetary species. In fact, see, in the last 100 years, before 100 years, what was man like? Life for mankind was local and linear. 1 day's walking distance was your area or your world. But in the last 100 years, we saw a transformation of mankind to multi-continent species. From that, we are going to, in the next 30 years, we are going to see mankind's transformation into a multi-planetary species, and that is what SpaceX is working on. Jayakrishnan spoke about the hockey stick curve. It is actually Ray Kurzweil. Ray Kurzweil is one person who has propagated this Moore's law, which says that any technology, there is a tipping point, and where the curve would come down a little bit, then it will take off into that hockey stick pattern. And many of the technologies which we are seeing today are about to take off into about to get go beyond the tipping point. So lot of transformations we are going to see in the days to come. Some questions which I thought would be relevant to Kerala. I would like to ask the panelists, how can Kerala entrepreneurs get a pie from the internet business of India? Starting with
Thank you. So, so what's hot today is internet businesses, right? Most graduate or postgraduate wants to join any of these names which we all know, right, from a Flipkart. But if you just rewind, say, 20 years, 1995 or 96, there was a kind of a consolidation of similar skill sets, offerings in Bangalore. We always talk Infi and Wipro. But there's another name which is even more bigger than called Microland. So these three people technically, as per me, created Bangalore, right? What worked then was a very clear focus on what are we playing. The opportunity for software globally, rather arbitrage export was coming up. But we very clearly, these three companies technically we think they're competitors. At that time they brought India to the map. Now if I come now, 2017 to 20, internet enabled businesses are funded well. There is money in the market. Now, is it right for the entrepreneurs here to think for another Flipkart? May not be, because we were 10 years late. But which specific area within internet business can Kerala be a hub? Today, actually, there is no place which is dominating like that. Right? It could be any of the classifieds. For example, if you look at the technology behind the digital classifieds business or technology behind the digital media business, if there is a platform like a TiE or the Kerala State IT Mission or somebody who enables one identity for Kerala in this overall scheme of things and you dominate, the possibility of that working is far higher than playing a me too in everything. Kerala can have a logistics company, Kerala can have an AI company. Everywhere if we touch upon, the state will not benefit. The multiplier effect will not be there. Number two, very important, you will not have inbound migration of talent. See today, why should somebody go to Bangalore? Because Bangalore is known for two things, technology and startups and e-commerce. Everybody migrates into Bangalore for a reason. Now maybe we have a large opportunity, if one of the pie, if we cut out, and we as in the people out in the room and the entrepreneurs, that Kerala is going to be famous for this in the next 2 years. Could be logistics technology, could be not all the names which all of us spoke of, maybe only AI, or maybe the virtual reality hub in India is going to be Kerala. Then we'll succeed. Because otherwise, we don't have an identity. And I'm being very blunt here, the reason being, the talent is outside from Kerala. What the exchequer's money has been used to subsidize the education, those people are not working here. So automatically, the leverage we have compared to a Karnataka or a Hyderabad is low because Mallus are working there. Right? So a focus on one technology as a theme for Kerala, maybe it's not for the entrepreneurs alone. I think that works really well in this market. For example, the number of scientists which a Flipkart wants to hire is about 200. Why should they sit in Bangalore? Right? So data scientists to the AI-linked experiences which everybody is talking about AI-linked experiences, right? So where is that going to sit in India? Nobody has an answer. And actually it's all over the place, if you ask me, because we know of somebody who's in Indore who's doing very well in that space, one company, and they are getting work. So my personal view is, instead of being confused across which pie to go to, a platform should decide that we are going to subsidize taxes and rents or whatever and help build an ecosystem in Kerala for one area within the internet ecosystem and dominate that. I think that today, because unfortunately the rest of the place are far ahead of us. So if you dominate in one of the areas, that's the way to go.
Any other panelist want to add to this?
Yeah, so I agree. And if you see two core things what we would be expecting. One is talent. You need the talent for that, and we are not short of talent. So Kerala is not short of talent. As Sridhar said, talent is going out of the state in many occasions. So that is not a shortage. The other thing, if you look a bit more deeply, if you see Silicon Valley or Bangalore, there's a big role in governments in setting that up. And not just the location, even if you say a smartphone like iPhone, many of the features in that were actually initially invested by federal government, through NASA or whatever it is, and they were just integrating that. So likewise, I think government will all have a big role in ensuring that that location is actually advancing in that particular area. So I believe Kerala is pretty much tuned to it, and with Kerala's IT policy and also the establishment and conferences like this definitely will make a big difference. So I am very optimistic and hopeful, and we are in the right direction. And the third thing what we need is the passionate people, and to actually take the risk and be bold and actually getting into it. And that also we are not in short of. So these three things I think will make a difference.
To add something? Go to the next question which came to my mind. There is a general fear that jobs are going to be lost due to emerging technology. What is your take on this? I think one of you can answer, I would request.
Okay, so it naturally came to me because I was declaring myself to be a firm believer. So this is a discussion which we have been seeing a lot, which is happening. So this is my take on this. It's not new in the history of mankind, where at a point some revolution happens and everything changes from then, right? So we have the industrial revolution which happened, and we have multiple of these turning points which has happened in between, which always put jobs at risk, right? But what happened at the end of it all? What industrial revolution did was it brought in big machines to replace manual labor, so that you don't have to do things which are a huge toll on your physical strength, but instead those things were replaced by machines. But what happened then? Then the economy opened up and a lot more opportunities were created, and the expectations from humans actually changed. That's what happened. So that brought in an increased emphasis on education, on having to be not just physically strong, but intellectually strong, being educated, being higher, having higher levels of education, so that you can think, you can execute, you can manage. That's what changed, right? Now, what is happening now is AI is coming in, right? Self-driving cars are coming in, self-driving vehicles are coming in, a lot of drivers losing their jobs, and a lot of these things are happening. Now, the need is, we need to reinvent ourselves in terms of what we do, right? And I'm pretty sure it will happen, because I remember about this interesting conversation which I read about. It was between Henry Ford Jr. and the union head at the Ford automotive company. So they were walking through the assembly line. That was the time when Ford brought in the assembly line of manufacturing the cars. So Ford was pretty proud about this, and he turned to the union leader and jokingly said, "Now tell me, Mister, how do you get your union fees out of these machines?" Right? So the union leader responded immediately, "Okay, that's my problem. I'll deal with it. But Mr. Ford, tell me, how would you make these machines buy your cars?" Right? Interesting thought. So any industrialist would have thought that replacing humans with machines would bring in a lot of profit to them. But then, end of the day, the world has to find out buyers for the things that are being built, right? The world has to find out a method to bring money into the hands of the people, right? And it'll happen. And it's not 100 people, it's not 200 people who are thinking about it, right? So it's thousands of people thinking about how we can change our economy to make or to bring abundance in the hands of people, right? And that will happen. The only change is that we have to reinvent ourselves. The old things that happened, that worked 10 years back might not work 10 years down the line. We have to change, and we will change. And that is simply what is called adapting to situations, right? And that will happen, and I'm positive about that.
Yeah, so you see today the total employment what we have on the planet is somewhere around 4 billion. They said that with all these changes, at least 2 billion jobs will get displaced. That means it will not exist, and the new jobs will come into picture. So that will apply to Kerala also. So if you see Kerala, say for example Info Parks, Techno Parks, where we have this ITs companies, which is more of a services companies, definitely it will have an impact on these organizations also eventually, by putting in robotics and the likes. But having said that, I think we need to tell the coming generation and the coming talent that they have to repurpose themselves, because new opportunities are coming. Like for example, we need people who can work on artificial intelligence, right? So there are new probably skills to be developed, And that is what I think we need to tell our next generation, or not just the coming up talent, to actually work on and review. So I think overall, the need for human brains or the need for humans are increasing only. By putting in robotics, the mundane transactional probably need from humans are taken away, which is good for us.
To add to that, the way I see, only in the last 100 years, this concept of studying for a job came in. Before that, world was totally different. We had small entrepreneurs everywhere. We had the mason, we had the carpenter, we had the goldsmith, all that. In fact, all these were small professionals. But with industrialization came this concept of studying for a job. Where are we heading now with all these technological innovations coming in? I believe we'll see two types of organization. We'll see mammoth organizations like Amazon on one side, and small entrepreneurs selling their products or service through Amazon on the other side. You have organizations like 99 Design, which became a design platform for design professionals. You could offer their, sitting at their home, they could offer their service to the world through 99 Design. Or Airbnb, became the biggest hotelier in the world without a single room. You could sell your room, extra room, using Airbnb. This, I believe, would be the model where on one side, when 2 million jobs are lost, I believe it will also become a platform for small entrepreneurs. And on one side, number of entrepreneurs, small entrepreneurs, I believe is going to go up considerably in the days to come.
Yeah, I would like to add a couple of things. I see it as mainly as a mindset issue because, of course, there are a lot of jobs going to be taken away from human beings because of AI and automation. But primarily, when you look at, and also we can say that, okay, we have to repurpose and kind of start working into a highly technological kind of jobs. There is some practical difficulty in that. I also understand the same thing, and the percentage of people who can be employed after training them for a different skill set is very less. So here actually, I would say there are a lot of areas which where we lack resources. When being really good in resource in terms of human resource, we lack people. The human resources in various areas. One of the typical example I would say is the security. Security, you can see that all the security people are aged people, either retired people or kind of not able to perform the job. So what happens is that that areas wherein the robotics and AI can address first. That's the first thing. And second thing is like these people, they have to see, is there any course for learning how to operate mobile phone? See, but any fisherman or any people like who are not educated, they are able to operate it. And when the television came to my house for the first time in 1989, I think, my dad was keeping a long stick so that he can push the button, that power button. So you can imagine that the time taken to adapt to this is also coming down, and people have to change the mindset. We only do this, we don't know anything, we are born like this. That is the main issue. So that is one thing. And the second thing is like, in certain areas, if you look at this, technology has to help. If you go to urban areas, you can see that all the buildings are constructed in the Z direction because there is high density, and so if you start doing it one by one, putting one brick on the top of the, is that possible? So, and the biotechnology is helped us in meeting our requirements in terms of all this what we are having today. So technology has to be there, and maybe there are certain areas some people are affected. So now all these thought process are happening in a period of 100 years, roughly, because we are thinking about our life cycle. We are actually living a very small piece of the entire time, if you look at it. So maybe the solution will be automatically there after many few hundred hundreds of years. So that is quite natural. I think we have to look at it in that way. So it is going towards the good thing only. Already the population is 4 times that is what is actually required comparing to the natural resource. So just we have to understand that.
I have a question to you specifically. Recently, a robot was given citizenship in Saudi Arabia. How do you see this taking shape?
Well, this nowadays this is one of the interesting things which I used to answer, because a few years back when the robot movie, Indian movie was there, I was getting questions from that kind of thing. So now that this is something which has happened recently, Sophia robot was there for a while, and it's a pretty intelligent robot connected to the cloud, and then it can behave like a person. So now this, I want to comment on this. It has been given citizenship. I don't know whether the robot has been given citizenship or the other people have become robots. Because I don't believe that human beings, see, being a person from this technological space, I would tell you cannot actually kind of make any robot, whether it is, I can sitting here, I can extrapolate that 100 years or 200 years or 500 years, you cannot make something equivalent to human beings in all respect. Why? Because the first place, we don't know who we are. That is the main issue. You can replicate a personality, not a person. That is the catch. Personality means that how do you respond to the surroundings. That you can replicate. The problem is that, I'll take a couple of minutes to compare this. Even physically you cannot do that. One side I will compare a robot which has got all these advanced actuators and 64-bit encoders, all these laser sensors, cameras, high resolution cameras, tactile sensors, and then proximity sensors and advanced supercomputers, and then AI, machine learning, all this stuff. Everything is a cloud connectivity, and terabyte of memory, gigabits of data transfer rates, things like that. Look at human beings. See, very interesting thing I will tell you. When you are born, when the fertilization happens, you are single cell. And when a baby is born, it is 100 trillion cells. And it takes 50 replications, doubling. 1, 2, 4, 8, like that, 16 like that. So 50 replication makes it 100 trillion cells. So for that baby, if you look at up to 7 years, this baby is actually getting a lot of information from the environment through his interactions, things like that. So basically, if you look at, you have 23 genomes from your parents. And when you are born, actually you have 2.2 billions of bacterial genomes. So actually we are more of bacteria than human beings. So this 2.2 billion bacterial genomes interact with 23 human genomes, and then it forms something like epigenomes, which is on the surface layer. So if you map this epigenome, you can identify what kind of person he is, like more or less the behavior of that person. So what I am telling you is that look at the possibility of having this combinations of these 23 genomes interacting with this 2.2 billion bacterial genomes, and what kind of behavior it is. Are you going to replicate this in any ways physically? Impossible. Through his interactions with the information he is gathering, and then his touch, feel, all these things, this is getting developed. That's the reason that if you have twins, one is brought up in one place, another place, both are different person. When a human being is born, he is an open book. So all these are written through all these various processes is going to be completely different. And second thing, very interestingly, whatsoever the big technology is there, if you look at what you can understand, that your brain is if you divide into two halves, the right hand side will be taking care of the creativity aspect, left hand side is the logical aspect, and the front half is the cognitive things, and the back side is the perception. So now I am talking about this Sophia robot is connected to internet, and it has got all these gigabytes of data transfer. Quickly it can find out any any answer, and then put the grammar and speak back to you. No problem. But whatsoever capability, camera, all these sensors, everything is there. All these eyes and all these sensory organs, 6 sensory organs, including your cochlear fluid. I don't know why it is not counted. And if you take the information which is going to your cortex, you can see that it's only 10 bits per second. And for this robot, it is many gigabits per second. So what happens is the ability to comprehend the information is very high in human beings. And see, that is just a half, maybe a 10% of the thing. So now you have to realize who we are, not physically actually. I have to talk about like little bit of tantric stuff. I'm not getting into that. So fine. So I'm telling you can only become a robot. Robots can become human beings. And the next thing is like when a robot is in the social environment coexisting with you, that will happen very soon for sure. The robot is not going to see you as a social being, but you may probably see the robot as a social being. The reason is because when you see a scenery, when you look at the flower blossoming, you have an experience inside, right? You have some sort of feeling inside. The robot is also can replicate the thing. I have came across a robot which can sweat. Sweating in the sense like, when the motors are getting heated up, you can take that heat and then you can have a cooler like a radiator and it sweats. And things like that, everything then. So when you feel sad, when you feel, emotional, sad, you don't feel like taking something. So you can also replicate the same thing for the robot. And when you look at the robot is also, it is not charging, it is not going to the docking station and charging the battery. So because it is sad. But it's actually, the robot is replicating. The robot is not feeling. Whether the robot is having the existential experience of looking at a flower blossoming, no, it's not. It's not. So robot is not going to be seeing as ourselves. It still remains as a machine. So very grey area. I'm not getting into it too much.
One more question. How do you see the future of engineering graduates coming out of colleges? I think it's a very important question because a lot of concerns exist in that space.
Interesting. So you meant our colleges in Kerala.
Yes, in Kerala.
We're jumping from crazy biology to education. It's a very basic statement, right? Kerala graduates. Absolutely. Kerala graduates have always followed dollars. Right? So if they have gone abroad, dollars. If they have gone to Bangalore to work with a software company, somebody's paying in dollars. The arbitrage is what's giving them the compensation, which a Kerala company would have given. Today, e-commerce is again dollars. Some investors' money translates to a huge compensation. That is today's biggest challenge for places like Kerala, where the quality of the graduates are at par or better than many of the other states. But the opportunities locally is non-comparable to a dollar-originated job. It's a problem statement. Two ways to do it. You have to create dollars here. Easier way to do it, right? And unfortunately, maybe the cluster concept I explained earlier, unfortunately, we have not yet matured with so much of intellect to create a dollar cluster in Kerala. Whichever sector you take, whether it be pharma, healthcare, a dollar import, dollar export cluster in Kerala, if it's not there, people will not stick here because the amount of money which is available outside for a different social stature and living, we may not be able to replicate here. We may have banks here, we may have financial services organizations here, we may have the best retail outlets in the country, but that doesn't translate to the dream of a guy who wants to be a technocrat, number one. Number two, again I mentioned, the awareness of the new professional pyramids curve. I think here maybe there's a little bit of a lack of exposure. If I link back to what you all spoke earlier, the need to upskill is tremendous today because of what we spoke. A lift operator soon will die. You will tell the lift where you want to take. To a warehousing guy who's good at packing and stacking is already gone. Right? So the need to upskill, just being an engineer out of a good college in Trivandrum or Cochin, you will die someday. So the constant pressure which all our children are going to be exposed to because of robotics and technology advancement, you either play the game at an upper slope in the pyramid or perish. But the beauty is, since this is my positive view, the slope is going to be far more steeper, which means you get multiple more layers to play. You're no more just a transactional player because that job goes to a robot. Good for me. My intellectual enhancement is going to be far higher because of the pressure from robots. I move up the pyramid to become somebody else, because whatever robo we said, it's created by us only, right? Somebody has to create it. So the steep curve, if colleges here understand the steepness of the new curve and skill people in a manner that they're not just transactional engineers. For example, I always wonder, why would a civil engineer become a software engineer? Right? So that conundrum is killed with this steep curve being educated to the children, saying that vanilla knowledge will not take you anywhere. And we being the literate state, and automatically education being one of the key areas here, that's the only way. And when that's there, automatically entrepreneurship will come. And I heard one of the startup founders, Naveen Tiwari, we were actually on an interview, he said, investments don't follow ideas. Investments follow talent. Because idea is an outcome of talent. We have the talent, but unfortunately investment has not followed here. So we have one aberration which can be corrected. It's a brilliant opportunity.
She, you want to add something?
Yeah, sure. So definitely, I agree. This is a big opportunity. So just let me connect with the real reality. Like for example, in our organization, there are 350 people today who is actually working on robotics, which is in Kerala. So and there is more demand. So demand, I don't think there is dearth in demand. What we need is like the good talent to come out and to understand the opportunities in the market and try to see that if there are opportunities in Kerala, to be in Kerala and actually work on that. So I think it's a big opportunity because I've been to Bangalore, I've been to Chennai. I think living wise also, I think Kerala is a better place to live in. So, sorry, Sridhar. So I think that is the opportunity and we should make use of it.
Yeah. So interestingly, this question connects a lot of different things that we discussed about it. So let me connect the question with an interesting observation which you made about since 100 years, people have been studying to get a job, right? The way I see it, I think that is totally fine, and it's been good and it's been beautiful because that's what the world demanded, right? We needed people, right? We needed people to be educated to do things so that they can add value. Now, what is the change which is happening? And this is exactly the change which happened in Kerala, where a lot of engineering colleges started coming up because there was demand for people who are engineering or technology graduates to be working in different companies. Majority, of course, in software, but then it was good. It was beautiful, right? It uplifted a lot of people. It created a lot of value in terms of the code they wrote or the buildings that they built or whatever it is, right? It was good. But unfortunately, we have this habit of destroying anything or diluting and destroying anything that is beautiful, don't we? So we've destroyed it. That's a fact, right? We have destroyed it by diluting it. Now is the time when we have to not just reinvent ourselves, but unlearn a lot of things that we have been doing in the past 10 to 15 years in terms of engineering education. Now, while the fact remains that you are getting your education to get a job, the kind of jobs are changing, just like everyone else mentioned, right? It's not just writing a piece of code or creating or anything of that sort, any transactional activity which is being demanded from you, but it's creativity that is demanded from you. It's ideas that is demanded from you, because those are the things which for the near foreseeable future a robot or an AI cannot replace. They cannot replace creativity. They cannot replace fresh ideas which is coming up. So education, engineering or otherwise, has to change in such a way that people are inspired to imagine, people are inspired to come up with ideas, people are inspired to create stuff or create value rather than being transactional people. So that is a fundamental change that has to come up in education to equip ourselves or our kids to be fit for the world which is coming up in the next 20 years. So that is fundamentally the change. A change from being knowledge seekers to being a set of people who are creative, who can come up with ideas and build new stuff.
Thank you, Jofen. Any questions from the public? Please stick to questions and no statements, please. Okay, we are slightly behind schedule. We'll wind up. Thank you very much, panelists.